I've been chewing on all this video, all the audio and video clip from the past Wednesday night Brigantine City Council meeting. Short-term rental, big vote, went down 7-0. All 7 council people said, yeah, this is perfect. Yeah, right. They really believe that. Anyway, yeah. October 18th, 2023, just a few nights ago, Brigantine City Council, that's a big ordinance change, amendment. Some people saying, sounds like Brigantine, the entire island's going to be mixed use, mixing commercial with residential. Tell me I'm right or wrong. I don't know. What do I know? Some people are getting threatened. It's called like being over the target. Some people are flying over the target, and you're gonna get arrows, taking, pointed your way.
Well, for the record and for the camera and for this microphone, whatever I've said was truthful, was honest, and was just.
We came to you to enforce the law on the commercial properties on our residential street. You seemed empathetic and concerned at one time, but then there's been a shift.
So we've addressed a lot of those concerns. When it came to parking, we are working on addressing some of those parking issues. When it came to the size of houses, that right now is before the planning board. So we're starting to look at when it comes to bedrooms, when it comes to parking. Your neighborhood, I would not wish that on anyone. And when it comes to the 7-day minimum, I'm going to tell you, it's not totally off the table. And I said this in the beginning, it's just not where we are now. And
It's very frustrating listening to Mayor Vince Serra of Brigantine. He's a great talker, orator, bullshitter. If you were to parse or transcribe every word out of his mouth, he just bloviates. We have video of years and years and years going by where he's been saying the same thing. We're working on it. It's a process. I don't get things done fast. I get them done right. That kind of nonsense. They're taking you down a road that only a small handful of people want to go down. Small businesses that rely on stupid amounts of huge traffic in the summer. The rest of the year, we don't care if you shut down. It's developers, handful of small business people controlling the planning board. Is that what? The Brigantine would never do that. Never, never.
I'm not in favor of 7 days. I'm in favor of 15.
But Mayor, you have to understand, do you really expect us to have confidence in the patrolling and the enforcement?
The problem you have is your trust in us.
The problem you have is your trust in us. Often I would bump into Mayor Vince Serra in line for communion at St. Thomas. And it's not really a good time to bring up stuff like this with our good friend, Mayor Vince. I like St. Thomas. I don't talk politics. Dude is soft. He's like...
It is not the ordinance we passed, and I respect that. And I said this from the beginning. I don't think the city has done a good enough job. And you can hear from a lot of the short-term rental owners who came in here, they didn't even know regulations that were already in existence.
One thing that concerns me in these 8.5 months, you have a fire department that provides rental inspections, but not once have we heard from either the fire chief or the Fire Inspector Murray. This department has 3 shifts, 24 hours. Why aren't they involved in inspecting the rentals on their downtime? When we call the police out and even show them photos, and then they are not proactive and they don't answer to the complaints. And what about all the complaints that were lost that we put in from 2015 to 2023? What about the noise complaints that were missing from the Oprah that was requested for 8 years? None of our names are on it, and we know. And it wasn't just me, it was many other neighbors that have said the same thing, that they know. They have called in at least 3 times in a season. Other people, and there was not one with one of our names on it. Where'd they go?
You said 8 years ago?
From 2015 up to this May of 2023. They're gone. They're not there.
I've been the chief for 3.5 years. I can't talk about stuff from 8 years
Well, what
ago.
happened to the ones in the last 3.5 years?
I would have to address each one with you and to see, you say you put something in there as a complaint. Now you're bringing it up 8 years later. How do you expect me to address that?
I want to know where the complaints went.
What I'd like you to do is if you have a problem, let's say on a Saturday night, and you don't appreciate the way we handled it, then come into me on Monday.
And then
Or-
again,
Or
instead
call
of-
me. I've never once had a phone call from
It's
you.
jumping- Oh, yeah, I've been up there. We've been up there.
No, you
yeah.
have not. For
I
you to
take
bring up,
offense to you call me a liar. 'Cause
I'm not
I have
calling
been
you.
in there.
I'm
And I
telling you.
have called you on this before.
I'm telling you the
And then
problem.
there's the other issue of a member of the city council.
Nice
for
talk. Good.
Highly unethical behavior at community events, talking about the people on 20th Street who are nuts, who asked him to be recused because he had a real estate license. And little does she
So
know
wait,
that
I
would be
wanna-
the whole,
Our
the whole
attorney actually,
council.
so we had our attorney do a review. Is there anyone on?
Yeah, let me just interject real quick. Do you notice how Vince is a lot more interrupting as of late? Interrupting. Mayor Phil Gunther was good at that. Interrupting if you don't like what he's hearing. But always bear in mind, every time you hear Mayor Vince Sarah say, we're going to have to refer to our attorney for that one, it's any type of question that's a solid question that you ask of council or the mayor. He doesn't want to answer it. I got to let you know there's some litigation. Our attorney's going to be able to share some information with you. No. It's everybody's attorney. You forgot that. The attorney is there for all taxpayers, not just the anointed seven and the king, of course, Mayor Vince Sarah. Every time you say our attorneys, you're spending our tax dollars, you fool. I'm referring to the residents that you forgot that you're in charge of these nincompoops. Our attorneys, we're going to get more attorneys. You know that enforcement and management of this catastrophe, you know what's going to happen. It's going to be a shit show, total shit show. But you let them slide. Do you remember that story, that phrase or that saying? Listen, we know they're assholes, but there are assholes. I like that one. That's, But I'm telling you, even the locals that have been here forever, they're getting fed up because they see that their neighborhood is changing because of these tools. A handful of people. That's why they're under a lot of pressure. All 7 council people voted the same way with no, well, maybe I should recuse myself. Maybe I should kind of ask a few questions. But you sat there and watched it. And you forget that you're in charge of those people, so supposedly in charge, spending your money. They lose stuff. They can't keep track of anything like complaints. And complaints, short-term rental complaints, though that collection of complaints, documented complaints, that's how you move the ball forward to fine a bad short-term rental property or to kick them off the block. Whoops. They lost 8 years worth of complaints. Is that true?
On city council that should be recused or has conflicts with voting on this?
I didn't say
So-
that. Let me finish
so
what he's doing.
you have-
He's
but
talking
you
in
have-
the community about us and mocking our coming up here and asking this or saying anything about it and how silly because this thing's not going to get.
Just bear in mind, Councilman Mike Reardon, good guy, he's a real estate guy. That's his job. He should be chiming in on this with a firsthand perspective. He wasn't on the committee, the supposed short-term rental committee. Why not? He's a realtor. He could add expertise. Was Jack Murray, the fire official, head of the rental department, a part of that? Who knows? He was nowhere to be found. They kept him out of the meeting. And the planning board turned the video cameras back on. Live stream those planning board meetings. That's where all the action is, everybody. Commissions, the council meetings, yeah. It's the planning board meetings. That's driving the bus. You got people that are just being told to shut up and sit down. Rick DeLucre being one of them. Why isn't he a part of these committees? Why isn't he chiming in? He has an expert. What does full time during the day? He's a land use attorney, and he's on your city council. And he says nothing. He wants to say something, but for some reason he's not. Paul Lettieri, he wants to get up and just grab Vince by the shoulders and, feed him a steak. Lettieri wants to get up and steal that soy drink from Vince. It seems like soft. And I agree. He needs to grow a set. He totally needs to grow a set. But maybe the entire town and the business community and the realtors, we all got to grow a set. We're watching this train wreck, front row. Nobody from the realtor space, nobody spoke up. Nobody had a realtor on the planning board. You don't know who that is, do you? The business community, where were they? Well, Paul Amalfitano, good guy, vice president of the Brigantine Chamber of Commerce, he mentioned that it was there's no consensus. They're all being told to shut up and sit down. You know that's true.
Get passed anyway. That's wrong. You know, Andrew's being harassed. That's a form of harassment as well. And that is not very ethical or moral.
Those current laws have created so many loopholes that we weren't able to enforce things in a meaningful way. That's why I said, like, I don't do things fast. I do them right. And
that is I don't do things fast. I do them right. What kind of stupid saying is it? Let me tell you, you could tell he's a public school teacher teaching history. I'd love to know what type of history he's teaching. This guy's creepy as hell, Mayor Vince.
we wanted to make sure that we did our research.
I haven't been able to attend these in person, but I watch online most of the time. What is the definition of commercial activity in reference to commercial activity in residential zones? How do we, like, I know if I Google it, but what do you guys consider commercial activity? In regards to like invasion of privacy, if I'm on my private property and someone's taking photos of me.
I think that would probably be a good question for your attorney.
Paul Malfitano, 208 Washington Drive. I am also the Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce. I wanted to come here today just to listen as a homeowner. There has been continued questioning of the Chamber of Commerce and businesses. As the board of the Chamber of Commerce, I can tell you that we have polled all of our businesses several times. We have taken in as much information as we can, as well as talking to non-members and businesses that choose to not be members of the chamber. One of the reasons we have not gone up at meetings is because there has been no consensus amongst the membership.
Yeah, there you go. Jeez. Yeah, we don't know. It's very telling, isn't it? Because they're all being told to shut up and sit down because we're going to make as much money as we can in the summer season. And after that, everything will fall off a cliff. Everybody's noticing there's less kids riding bikes. There's less people. You're going to lose your school district. Young families are not moving. You guys are saying it in public comment. Whenever you hear somebody bringing up the fact that people aren't coming here to raise a family, they can't afford to come here. Is there proper disclosure? I can't retire there. I don't know what the hell I'm moving into. Is it a commercial district? Is it a motel zone? Did somebody tell me that they changed this ordinance? Young Vincent making that decision with a handful of developers and a lot of people behind LLCs that you'll never get to see, I bet. I double dog dare you. Day late, dollar short. Brigantine Chamber. Although Paul's a great guy, you can tell he's half-hearted. I'm here as a resident, but I'm really the vice president of the chamber. And we have no idea what the hell we're doing. They're afraid, that's why. They're afraid. And then Ann Phillips. She catches Mayor Vincera in a bold-faced lie.
The membership.
Mayor Sarah has acknowledged that the short-term rental industry has operated in Brigantine for years with almost total freedom. He says that it is not the best thing for our economy and our tax base.
I don't know that I said that.
You did.
I said
He said it in a million. He said it, and of course I run it everywhere often because it's so perfect. Yeah.
I said that it's operated unchecked.
Bah, bah, bah.
Number, and it's more related to
It doesn't mean they get to.
doing the job of removing a commercial activity from
Well,
a
that's where
residential
I think the
zone.
mistake is. I think people are focused on the minimum stay. What we're focused on is the behavior and the
Yeah, I
property.
know, we've been around that bar
So
before,
when
yes.
you
Actually,
We're focused on the behavior. Has to say, he's able to interject himself in public comment time, and he takes over from the public commenter. He does that, and he does it really smooth, so you think he's actually adding something to the conversation, but he's trying to distract the person from saying something that's really embarrassing. And the guy we're looking at right now, sitting there quiet with a bunch of empty, well, it looks like blank pieces of paper. And of course, here he's has a little thermos, something to drink. I believe it's some type of soy-based drink. That's Tiger Platt, the city manager of Brigantine. Of course, Tiger says very little. He should be managing this thing. Nope. You know, there's a problem here. Somebody else. These idiots are not managing the out-of-control short-term rental thing. But I can tell you that Tiger Platt of Absecon, New Jersey, I always bring that up because could you imagine if Tiger Platt, the city manager, if he lived like a beach block in Brigantine? Do you think he'd have a different outlook on this? Damn straight. But he's at Absecon. So, you don't give two you-know-whats. But you let him slide. You let Tiger slide because he's a good guy. You let Jack Murray. He's kept out of the meetings. He's the guy that knows everything. He's the keeper of the secrets. Then you have an attorney that keeps chiming in off mic so you can't really hear him. Bearing in mind, he's a taxpayer-funded attorney, but he's acting adversarial. Don't forget. You got to put some heat on the people that are really, it's happening in your neighborhoods. It's happening in your neighborhoods.
you have that number and it's more related to.
it doesn't mean they get to add more people just because there's a maximum. That's why it says up to 18, not you can have 18.
Yes, but the parking probably remains.
Oy vey. This is wonderful. This is one of my favorite parts. Enjoy this. Because Tiger, the city manager, really, there's so much trust and faith. And if St. Vince, I mean, Mayor Vince, deems that whoever he chooses is special and blessed and ordained, well, you know.
And it go away. And for the issue, whatever that issue is that you have, trust me, talk with their city manager. He's going to take care of it. He's going to make sure that things are done right by you. One of the, I would say the number one reason why I wanted, when we went through this process, probably number one reason why we hired our city manager, he is honorable. He is a man who believes in doing right. It's not about getting ahead. It's not about winning. It's about doing the right thing. And that is exactly the kind of people that I want to be surrounded with. So when he tells me that he's going to help you, there is no doubt in my mind that he will do everything in his power to make sure that your issue is resolved. I have faith in him. I never worry. And that is why he is sitting in the position he's in. You know,
Is that creepy or what? Is that creepy as F? I trust him. He starts talking like our good friend, Mr. Biden. You know, he leans in and starts talking in a whispery, kind of breathy thing. And he looks at you and you know he's wrong, but he's starting to creep you out and you back away. Mayor Vince has that secret. He has that formula down.
that is what all of us want from council.
He looks like Jim Carrey in Me, Myself, and Irene, like a freak show dude that he just changes. Look at the eyebrows. That is, yeah, it's Jim Carrey. And is it Me, Myself, and Irene? Or, yeah, that's right there. He scares me. Cut back on the soy. Somebody get him into the gym. Buy him a frickin' steak, why don't you? Gee, he needs some testosterone. Creepy. Maybe somebody should ask the simple question. Vince, why are you the only one that talks? And anytime you do throw it, throw, you say, okay, what do you want to say? They stumble through words. Nobody, even if you studied that 23 pages of the ordinance, the short-term rental ordinance, holy crap. Ultimately, Tiger Platt of Absecon, New Jersey, with no skin in the game, he decides whether it's a real complaint. It's a real violation of that ordinance that is incomprehensible.
All of us want that. And I see that in so many of our employees. Some of the issues you brought up, we looked at what was lagging and what was missing, and we filled those holes.
Couple things. On enforcement, I can't wait for enforcement, but enforcement won't be real because you say you've got a new system. Enforcement won't be real even if you start doing enforcement. Enforcement will be real when every citizen of Brigantine has a list of what they can do and what they can't do, knows exactly what they can do, and let's go with trust and verify, and then can go back in a week later, like you say the system will do. So the system has to be implemented, it has to be debugged, and then there has to be outreach. I don't have to do the 2-page whatevers to let residents know what they have to do and let rental owners know what they have to do, but that has to be in place, and then people will start to believe. Zoning, I'm glad that you're looking at new properties in terms of zoning regulations that can constrain them a little more. Because the problem with the biggest problem properties is they are too big for the lot, they are too big for the street, they are too big for the local neighborhood.
That is why you need to attend the Brigantine Planning Board meetings. And if you cannot attend in person, tell them to turn the camera on. It's in the same spot as the council meetings. Because like we always say, the Brigantine Planning Board meetings, that's where all the action is. It's not just city council. And who selects the Brigantine Planning Board? Our good friend Mayor Vince Serra, better known as Vincent Serra. Even disappointing the people that knew him when he was a little tyke.
But there's a loophole. Most properties that turn into bad rentals don't start off that way. They start off as somebody's home, and then they get converted. And when they get converted, a lot of times there are enhancements done to these properties to make them more marketable or marketable at a higher price. A lot of that stuff is not done under code. When I lived in Voorhees, when you bought a house, you got a certificate of occupancy. When you sold the house to somebody else, there was another certificate of occupancy. The second one looked at all the legal improvements and the basic property. Anything that was done without a permit, the city went after the cost in taxes and improvements and the cost in whatever fees they would have had or permits they would have had across the number of years. I had a neighbor who had an unfinished basement, finished the basement, put out a lot of stonework and things like that, improvements basically overfilled. He got hit with $100,000 fine.
Yep, you got to keep an eye on the planning board. There's all kinds of things with coverage and lot coverage, and if you don't think it's going to affect you, what about when they do a reval? You know, when things get out of whack by more than the 10% or something? I don't know exactly what it is. But, every so often you have to do a reval. And sometimes you got to do a reval when the two different numbers get too far apart. I forget what that's called. It's just not going to be good.
In order to sell the house. Cover 85 or 90% of the property with impervious materials.
Now imagine living next to that property. They build on 90% of the lot. They don't, they're not really good with the grass or the drainage or the impervious pavers or whatever to get rid of the water. So they steal all your sunshine. They steal your air, your breathing room. And of course, you're going to get all their runoff. Who are you going to complain to? It's out of control. You got planning board meetings. Tell them to turn the camera on. Get John Doring, the IT director, get him some lessons on how to monitor these meetings, keep them going. Now, John's doing a good job. I can see he's manipulating the camera. So he's just looking at it, but he has to listen and monitor to see whether the audio is good. All right. You better keep an eye on the planning board.
For short-term rental people, especially off-season, to think that they're doing good for Brigantine, I would argue the contrary. When I moved here, there were 3 drugstores because this new CVS had been built and the old one hadn't been shut down yet. There's now 2 and there'll be 1 next month. There were 2 gas stations. We got 1.
Excuse me, Henry, you're 5 minutes here.
See?
If you allow me another minute, there were 2 grocery stores this month.
So, Henry, if you could just summarize, because
We don't have, people who come in for 2 days don't need gas. They might need groceries, but if they do, it's only a little bit. They don't need drugs. If they come in for longer stays, they use the island. If they're only here for 2 days, they don't. And now we have sky-high prices and a regular family can't afford
so
property.
Henry, I'm gonna just ask if you could summarize. We need to be fair to everyone who spoke.
Okay.
We don't have
Thank
year-round
you.
residents.
Thank you.
We
Are there
don't,
any final council comments?
we don't have year-round
I'm
residents.
sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing Councilman DeLucre. I apologize.
I brought some written comments I was going to share, but see, we're running up against the start of the Phillies game, so.
No, it's morning. It's morning.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Mr. Sarah has done a deal with the devil. And that devil, I don't know. Where are they hiding? Where are they hiding? Who's behind those LLCs? All right. And we'll end up with one of our favorites, if you don't mind. If you don't mind, here we go. Enjoy this very much.
People, some of their business plan right now is they rent to bachelorette parties, they hold weddings, they hold special. No, hear me out. No, but I
am going to interrupt.
but Ed,
you
I don't
because
think you understand.
You're
I'm not deflecting.
like you do all the time.
So Ed, it seems like your comments are very personal toward.
No shit. Because you're the mayor. You are abusing our faith in you.
Towards me.
No, yeah,
I'm not deflecting.
like you do all the time.
So Ed, it seems like your comments are very personal towards me.
No, yeah,
But-
you need to grow a set.
A little bit of history of this ordinance, and I have to pat myself on the back a little bit here. I was the author of the rental registration.
Yeah, I think he did a pretty good job, Bob Soleri. A different time, didn't really have all that internet stuff. I had zero issues with the Airbnbs because I don't think they existed at that time. So, but even this fine lady made it very clear. We've had it with how you guys are really destroying the community of Brigantine. You're not trying to protect the community of Brigantine while at the same time maximizing the benefits of short-term rentals. No. None of what you're saying, none of what you're writing in that ordinance, you're not going to be able to enforce it. You can't even explain it. 23 pages of sometimes conflicting information. You're losing the battle to people that are your next door neighbors, Mr. Sarah, Mr. Lettieri. Lettieri's going to bail. He's going to go rogue again because he's steaming. And when you have a land use attorney on city council and he doesn't chime in with that expertise, why are you letting that happen? You have a realtor on city council and you let him never talk about real estate ramifications? And you keep referring to your attorney, your lawyer, your attorney. That's our attorney, the taxpayer's attorney. You fool. You're spending our money to what? We're funding a battle with an attorney that is our attorney? Mr. Sarah, King Sarah, Pope Sarah, I forget which one it is. The Brigantine residents, it's really their responsibility because you let them do it. But you know what? City council has crossed the line, and a handful of people who are, yeah, I could say rape. They are raping the parcel, the real estate valuations, the assets, the resources of Brigantine. They're just coming in, and anybody that speaks up, shut up, sit down. You didn't. And over the years, you've never seen real fair, honest back and forth. This is all being handled by a very small handful of people making a ton of money off of what? Building more and squeezing a zillion people into the 15 weeks of summer. And then after that, we don't care if you're shut down. We don't care if you are forced out of your house because your landlord wants to turn it into an Airbnb or other short-term rental. You're getting taken for a ride. But the locals are waking up. The chickens have come home to roost. Everybody is asking questions. How'd you lose all those complaints? Those complaints are gold. That's how we get action. We were told, collect complaints, call it in. And yet you lost 8 years of complaints. You can't find them? You're threatening residents for saying, listen, there's buses coming down. Who are these people? You admit it's a commercial operation in a residential zone. And now you have business operators with big McMansions with 30 people in a party house threatening local residents. That's what's going on. And you're letting it happen. You know why? Because you have Brigantine's very first woke mayor, Mayor Vince Serra. What a freaking embarrassment. What an embarrassment. He needs to grow a set is true. Even his own people, his neighbors are saying, what is this guy doing? And Paul Lettieri, he's gonna go rogue. Somebody else needs to start to and Rick DeLucre, he's got to break away, unleash himself from the shackles of I don't know how they shut him up. And you got to even the short-term rental association people. I think the attorney here, how he disrespected her. We might not agree all the time, but he publicly shamed her. That's what Sarah did with his trusty sidekick, Tiger Platt of Absecon, New Jersey, with no skin in the game. But we'll decide who wins and who loses. You let that happen. Do a little research on Brigantine now, on Tiger Platt. See what you dig up. Right?
Come on. This is what we're used to. What these people are talking about is money. We want our way of life. You have to try something, and you have been working diligently to do it. All right? Today was the first time in months I actually saw little kids riding a bike. We don't have any little kids anymore. Who's going to go to Mass and light candles? I want to know that. All right? And then we'll call Mr. Bruno to put out the fire. But anyhow, come on, guys. Everybody has to be reasonable. There's some of us that cherish our way of life, and there's some of us that really want to make an investment, but do it right. Watch your properties, monitor your people, take care of business. 6 generations I have behind me. We took care of business, and we took care of our neighbors and our neighborhoods. There's a way to do it.
And I think it's important. You tell the story as if you're the victim, but you've been continuously trying to bully me this entire process.
The world's first all soy-based mayor, Vince Serra. Oh my God. Unbelievable. He doesn't get things done fast. He gets them done right. A stupid thing to say. Disrespects people. But this woman, she's the best. She really is. Oy vey. Ernie Purdy, former Department of Public Works guy. He made an appearance. What do you say, Ernie? Huh?
Ordinance.
Okay, so here, listen up, boys and girls. You have a lot of people here that have a lot of money on the line, okay? They're making money, and those of us who live here and enjoy it here, we don't need to put up with that. I represent 6 generations of innkeepers, and we all lived on our properties. Your grandmother, Vincent, we all lived at our properties. We all managed. We had a problem. We were 42nd Street, 43rd Street, 44th Street. It was zoned commercial. All right. We didn't bother the police department or the fire department. Our men were around. Mr. and Mrs. Bruno, Mr. and Mrs. DeNicola Antonio, my grandparents, Mr. and Mrs. Nappy, Mr. and Mrs. Rizzo, Mr. and Mrs. Lettieri, Mr. and Mrs. Capioli. Come on, guys. You had a problem, you get on the phone, you had 3 people to a party line, and you call somebody. Got a problem here. They're being unruly. You had 3 or 4 really big Italian guys that worked in construction, very gentlemanly and very calmly would come and say, do we have a problem? No, we don't have a problem unless they want to pack their bags and leave now. Then they've got a problem. Done. Finished.
She's the best. She's the best. She is Brigantine, and she is defending Brigantine. She's defending the community of Brigantine while Vincent is at the helm of taking it down. That is Rosemarie Ricardo, and she is the Brigantiner of the month. I think Brigantiner of the year. Jeez. And she was talking about, there's a problem. The big Italian guys would walk down the street and say, hey, we got a problem here. Somebody did email me with the list of some of those Italian guys that would go down and pay a visit to an unruly shooby, disrespecting the innkeeper's pad or beach bungalow. That list of some of the guys that would kind of police the short-term rental vibe and the operations in Brigantine back in the day. Somebody sent me a list. We got Sal Tessio, Johnny Sack, Paulie Walnuts, Bobby Bacala, Peter Clemenza. They say he's pretty heavy. Tommy DeVito, he gets a little too crazy. Jimmy Two Times, Billy Batch, Don Fanucci, and just in case somebody got hurt, they wouldn't take him to a hospital. They got to keep it on the down low, when they injure somebody. They take him to somebody who's very reputable on the island, a medical guy. Maybe you know him, Dr. Vinny Boombatz. Thank you very much.
You have an oven fire or a fire on the range? Because my grandmother did. She was frying meatballs and forgot. Yell out the door, Mr. Bruno, Mr. Tedesco. Right away, come over, put out the fire, and my grandmother wasn't allowed to make meatballs anymore unless she promised to stay at home. Come on, this is what we're used to. What these people are talking about is money.
That's right. You're losing the support of people like Rosemarie. A lot of people that will not get up on a microphone, but more and more people will, and they're going to call you out saying, what are you doing? Because they see young Vincent really going rogue and doing everything that's against how he was brought up. So, pretty shameful. Anyway, go to brigantinenow.com. Got a lot of video. And also support, come on, do something good. Support the Brigantine Taxpayers Association. They need support. They're the ones that dig up the salaries and other information, key information. They have a website. They track all this stuff. If you don't have somebody keeping an eye out for you, especially second homeowners, that's how we started Brigantine Now, right after Hurricane Sandy. Yeah, we've been doing this for 12? I can't even count that far. We started this at Hurricane Sandy as a lark, and it turned into something. I go, hey, you know what? I get the feeling there's a lot of people that don't know what's going on in Brigantine. Maybe I'll use this thing called WordPress. And that's how Brigantine Now started. And boy, did they hate it. They hated it. They had no control over it. Mayor Gunther, they all hated it. Even though I just took the videos of the city council meeting and shared them. Boy, did they hate that. But then they got smart. They started putting people in place to accidentally delete videos. Whoopsie-daisy. Anyway. All right, we'll take a break, and we got more stuff coming up later.